I'm the founder of YoJo, and what we do is bring yoga and meditation to the workplace. Our focus is on the tech revolution and how the speed of technology is changing the way we use our minds and our bodies. Our whole goal is just to offset all the damages that happen when you sit all day with yoga and meditation. So we come in sometimes something as small as 20 minutes. And I love what I do. I'm fascinated by it. But it isn't the secret sauce of YoJo. It isn't the thing that gets me up in the morning and gets me stoked. The thing that I am the most inspired by, the thing that is my muse, is death. And not just death, but how to have a great death. Now, I don't teach my yoga classes like a funeral, I promise. I'm a pretty cheerful person. But this has always been something that's really important to me, and it's honestly been an undertone until now. It's been very private, so please don't tell anyone. But our love of death, my homage to death, is right here in our logo. I think a little part of it got cut off. Megan, will you flip to the next one? You can see it. It's the skull. And when I first came up with this logo years ago, I got a lot of feedback from my friends and my family. They said, you know, why don't you do something maybe a little bit less violent? Why don't you not wear black all the time? Why don't you put some pink into it? Use some flowers, some namaste. So when I was asked to give this speech, I was like, this is awesome. I have a chance to talk about my logo, to talk about the secret sauce of YoJo, and most importantly, to talk about my thoughts on how to have a great death. Obviously, I'm fairly young to be so fascinated by death, so it didn't come out of nowhere. 10 years ago, I was hit by a car. I was on a moped. I did a somersault in the air across 3 lanes of traffic, and I landed on my head. I was unconscious for a while, and I had that experience that everyone talks about where your life flashes before your eyes, and I had a moment, and I just accepted, this is it, I'm done. Except I wasn't done. I woke up, I was in a hospital. Here's me. I think I look pretty great for what I went through. If reading the accident report meant anything, people thought I was nearly unscathed. I had a concussion, fractured skull, fractured vertebrae, sprained neck, alongside some other injuries. But a couple days later, I was back to my life. Except I was not back to my life. Because the thing that I didn't understand is what trauma does to a person. Trauma, whether it be a low-grade trauma, like your boss yelling at you, or a major trauma like this, it changes your immune system. Trauma actually lives inside of your body. It's in your muscles and your organs, and it changes the way you function in the world, and it changes your immune system. After this accident, a couple months later, I had to have surgery. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, symptoms of multiple others. I was pumped with drugs, and I spent most of my 20s feeling like I was in my 80s. I was in chronic pain a lot of the time, and I started to learn what that does to a person. It changes your chemistry. You are not the same anymore. It changes the way that you see the world. It changes how ambitious you are. It changes your relationships, the way that you can see outside of yourself and the way you participate in life, and the way that your life impacts the world. And I started to learn how incredibly fragile that I am, and incredibly fragile we are as people, that this is part of being human. But there's a flip side to everything, and the flip side is power. As fragile as you are is how powerful you are. Now, fortunately for me, you could assume getting past this would motivate me to start yoga, and after that, I would just be grateful every day to be alive. But that's not true. I'd actually done yoga years before this happened. So I had the advantage of having yoga as an affinity. Like I said, the mind frame of someone who is in chronic pain is not always so great. So fortunately, I had done yoga, and I was already attracted to doing it. So I pushed myself forward, and even when I didn't feel like it, I'd show up to yoga trainings. I showed up in every way I could. Acupuncture, Ayurveda, using food as medicine, doing cleanses that, let me just say, are not for the faint of heart. And little by little, my chemistry started to shift, and I started to understand that flip side. I started to understand that I am not stuck in any way. I have a ton of power. I can change this, and I can influence this. So after this accident, I started to understand the fragility of the human spirit and also the power of it, and that they're equal. And I became extremely fascinated with death. And then I read this book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Has anyone read it? Okay, see, it's not the world's most popular text. I'm actually really impressed that 3 people raised their hand. That's amazing. So I'll go ahead, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. It's a dense text, and it is a roadmap to death. The Cliff Note version is, see the green light, don't go to the green light. See the red light, don't go to the red light. And the point in time that you will see these lights is that time between your death and your next rebirth. And here's the thing. The thing that's going to make you go to the green light or the red light is the culmination of everything you've done in your entire life. Every action and reaction and thought and emotion. Did you say you're sorry? Did you go for a job you were scared of? Did you do something brave? Did you carry a bag of groceries for an old lady? And here's the thing. Your brain chemistry has everything to do with that. Because if your brain chemistry is good, if the culmination of all the things you do to power yourself up is good, then you're going to have a better magnet at the end. This culmination of everything within you will attract you to a better light, will attract you to a better next birth. So the whole concept of this book is to have a great death means to have a great life. Now, just as I'm starting to digest all this information, and I'm only becoming more curious, life, of course, gives me another learning opportunity. About a year ago, I was in a restaurant in the East Village, getting at the time what I thought was my comfort food, and it was chicken nuggets, my childhood favorite food. And just as the nuggets come and I'm about to take my first bite, the thing that happens after the first bite, the swallowing thing, it didn't happen. I was choking. Flash forward 45 minutes, and I am coughing up blood, being given the Heimlich maneuver, thinking I'm going to die in this restaurant, picturing my funeral, how people will talk about how I died from a chicken nugget. Flash forward a couple hours. I am in the ICU. I hear people saying, we've got a nugget situation. I have more terror running through my body than I ever have. And down the hall, there is a man who feels just as restricted as I do. And he takes off his clothes and runs naked across the hall. So now I'm thinking, I'm going to die of a chicken nugget, and this is the last person I will ever see naked. So flash forward a couple of hours. I made it out. And here's the thing. You don't know how you're going to die. It may be a chicken nugget. It may be something stupid or ridiculous. It may be beautiful. It may be painful. But the thing you get to control is everything before that. You get to control the culmination of all your thoughts, your actions, your emotions, and everything you did in those last moments. So thank you all for listening. I want to thank my teachers who were so much a part of this, Rama, Rhea, Nikki, and Sean. And I want to leave you with a question. I'm sure you're all doing so much now to have a great death. Thinking from this perspective, what would you do more of? Thank you so much. Have a great night.